Story 1. Drink coffee sitting on a patio chair in the backyard and stare off into nothing. As a kid, I thought my dad would be so bored sitting and doing nothing. As an adult now, at the age my dad was then, I can appreciate the tranquility of some quiet outside contemplation time. Story 2. I never thought I would be the person who actually enjoys waking up early just to watch the sunrise. But now I am the one setting my alarm to before the crack of dawn and posting sunrise photos like a pro. Story 3. I never thought I would still feel young inside when my body was old. I thought old people completely changed inside and out to old. I'm very much a kid inside. Story 4. Alcohol and energy drinks, you do a labor job one time. Next thing you know, it's a beer after work and a Monster in the morning. I've done well reducing the intake so far, getting a healthier lifestyle there. Having a relationship or possible marriage. When I was young, my mind was set on being the cool uncle with race cars, living life my way at my speed without someone I'd have to worry about. Meeting one girl changed that plan quickly, straight to a hardworking family man attitude. I still want the race car, but it's substantially less of a priority. Story 5. Smoking. I remember having it drummed into my head as a kid how it's bad for you and hating the smell of it. But peer pressure in the 20th century got me anyway. Story 6. When I was younger, I thought I would never be able to get up early in the morning of my own free will. Back then, it seemed impossible and even unnecessary. But now I do it all the time. I wake up early to get more done in the day. Story 7. I remember being a kid and writing songs with my friends. This was in the early days of Taylor Swift, so naturally, we all thought we were going to grow up and be songwriters. She released Teardrops on my guitar in 2006, so I was probably 8 or 9, which had the lyric "I laugh because it's so damn funny." At the time, I remember saying I'd never put curse words in my songs. I don't know what I was thinking. Story 8. As a kid or teen, I always thought I would keep up with the latest trends, music, movies, and so on. Other than keeping up with technology, I realized trends are meant for the current generation. Story 9. When I was younger, I never thought I would be into early mornings. Now, I cherish starting my day with a peaceful morning routine. Exercise, a good breakfast, and some quiet time. It is amazing how this simple change has boosted my productivity and mood, and I have found that sharing this habit with friends has had a positive impact on them too. Story 10. As children, my father would make my brother and me pick up his beer cans. He put his empties in large trash bags. These bags would dry rot or a storm might blow a few bags open. I told myself I would never drink. Years later, in my 30s, I would have a drink or two, then slowly progress to full-blown drinking every day. I ended up giving myself cirrhosis, then quit cold turkey. Story 11. Get fat. I cringe when I recall how I explained that I wasn't ever going to allow that to happen, how I would simply stop eating if there was any sign. Story 12. Giving a care about what my grass or lawn looks like. Getting excited about new air fryer recipes. Getting excited when seeds I've sown start to sprout. Story 13. Sleeping and napping. I used to look forward to growing up because I thought there would be no need to follow strict bedtime rules anymore. But well, here I am, going to sleep as soon as I possibly can and taking naps as often as I can because it's the best thing in the world. Story 14. Motorcycling. I was never really good at riding a bicycle, and later I crashed as a passenger on a friend's moped. I thought it was stupid and dangerous. Then, right before turning 30, something clicked, and it's been my passion ever since. Story 15. Wake up before 8 on the weekends. Used to sleep in until at least 10:30 on my days off. Wake up at 5:30 on weekdays for my current job. Now I get up early to maintain a sleep schedule. Story 16. Sometimes I do something or make a sound my dad makes. Pisses me off. My brother does the same. I also drink. I swore I would never do it after getting addicted to caffeine at a young age. Story 17. Smoke weed. I drank the drug abuse resistance education Kool-Aid hard as a kid. Then, at 19, I had migraines that no medication would resolve. Now I smoke just for my mental health. Story 18. Eat spicy food. When I was younger, I couldn't even handle black pepper on my eggs. Now, my favorite cuisines have spice to make them taste good: Mexican, Thai, Indian. Story 19. Not drinking. When I was underage, it was fun. Now that I can drink whenever I want, it just isn't the same. I used to drink 9 to 12 beers at a time, 2 to 3 times per week. Now I might have 2 beers a year. Story 20. Smoke weed. I did not have anything against it, I just do not like not being in control of myself. The first time I got stoned, I was barely lightly toasted. I was just giggly and wanted food. We watched TV and just chilled. I did not feel like I lost myself, but I definitely did not have my normal anxiety. Story 21. Eat challenging food. I was extremely picky when younger. I really didn't eat any vegetables other than potatoes and corn until after 20 years old. I just had escargot and tuna sashimi as part of my meal last night. Story 22. As a kid, I promised myself and my parents that I would never smoke. My parents have been smoking since they were 18, my sister started smoking at 14, and me, well, I started smoking at 13 and I wish I never did. I hate myself for that. Story 23. Peas. Hated them as a child. Sat at the table until bedtime refusing to finish my plate. My mother went all mommy dearest on me and had them on my plate the next morning. Now I love them. Now I grow them. Story 24. Drink coffee and love coffee. This is a result of me changing, but also coffee changed. When I was a kid in the 1970s, America's coffee choices were things like Sanka, Folgers, and Maxwell House. My thoughts then were that coffee was hot dirt mixed with water. How did adults drink this stuff? My gateway drink, if you will, was Vietnamese iced coffee, which I first tasted around 1990. It had lots of sweetened condensed milk, but the coffee bitterness was different somehow and came through in a satisfying way. By graduate school in the mid-1990s, I knew the difference between Arabica and Robusta beans, and I was brewing my own coffee at home. I was told that all that 1970s coffee that I disliked was Robusta coffee. I wasn't sure about that. I figured that my taste buds might have just matured. Then I took a road trip across the United States in 2003. Sometimes I had to get coffee wherever I could find it to keep driving. At the Waffle Houses and Sonic drive-ins across the country, I experienced the nostalgia of hot dirt in water that I remembered from my childhood. Story 25. Eat eggs, pickles, mustard, Brussels sprouts. I also never thought I would purposely cut down on how many days I play sports, simply because I'm too sore to keep getting up and going. Story 26. Be a stalkerish kind of woman who researches every man before I even interact with them. That thought literally never even occurred to me. Now it's like my default mode before dating. Story 27. When I was in my 20s, many people used to tell me I should become an English teacher because I'm really good at it, and I always used to say I don't have the patience for it. Now, I teach adults who want to immigrate to English-speaking countries. Story 28. Makeup, nails, and shopping. I didn't get them when I was young. I always thought, what a waste. Probably still a waste now, but hey, they make me happy. Story 29. Drink. As I get older, I just feel the need to relax more. For me, that's one small drink a day, approximately. I never would have guessed, and I always swore off alcohol. Drink responsibly. Story 30. I remember saying to my mom, I'll never wear flat shoes like you. She smiled and said, wait until you get into your 40s. She was right. I have given all my high heels to charity shops. Story 31. Living a childless life full of spontaneous adventures. A month ago, I was on a motorcycle trip with my mountain bike, riding up the west coast of California, Oregon, and Washington, enjoying mountain bike trails along the way. 2 weeks ago, I was heading out to the desert for another epic Burning Man trip. I never really know what the next adventure will be until a new idea just comes up. Story 32. Exercise. I spent most of my life sedentary, unhealthy, and in pain. I was the slowest kid in gym class, often the target at dodgeball. I, a 29-year-old female, started exercising regularly around 23, and over time the brain fog faded away, my posture improved, my body became toned, flexibility improved, and now I can't imagine my life any other way. Story 33. Live. I honestly thought I would be dead by the age of 21. I was a reckless child. I'm Generation X. Now I'm 45 years old and still baffled as to how I've made it this far. Story 34. Love running. I'm actively resentful that my need for procedure and the procedure itself is preventing me from running. My neighborhood also just got repaved, so all the cracks in the road are finally repaired. The weather is perfect, and I can't really walk for another week. I had always been a chubby indoor kid with minimal desire for sports. Story 35. Fill up my gas tank. I thought that was rich people stuff. My family was always putting $5 in the tank, so did I once I started driving for years. Now I have a decent paying job, and I realize that it's just something normal people do. To be fair, if I saw me now 30 years ago, I would think I was very well off. I'm not. I'm just average. Story 36. Realize that I know so very little about the world. Maybe we are all one consciousness experiencing itself subjectively. There is no such thing as death. Life is only a dream, and we are the imagination of ourselves. Hicks. Robert Epstein has some interesting work in which he theorizes the brain is a transducer of information rather than one that stores it. This is why recollection is hard while recognition is easy. I think the theory is incomplete but interesting nonetheless. Story 37. Get tattoos. My father was a tattooist, and I essentially grew up in a tattooing studio, spending most of my time there after school or on weekends watching him tattoo people. I absolutely fell in love with the art of tattooing and am looking to eventually do it myself. But as a kid, the concept of actually getting tattoos done on me freaked me out to the point I insisted I would never have one. Flash forward to my mid-20s and I have 12 tattoos. The only reason I don't have more at the moment is the tiny human currently residing in Casa de Wom. I had my first one at 15, persuaded my dad to let me be the last person he tattooed before he retired. I had to hide it from my school, or else I would have been suspended. I realized it didn't hurt all that much, and I have no intention of stopping anytime soon. Story 38. Wake up and get ready slowly before work. I used to always wake up and rush out the door. Now, I take my time getting ready and don't walk out the door until I've been able to sit and enjoy a big cup of coffee first. This has been so much better for my mental health, and there are added perks. I'm more alert when I get to the office. I'm ready to actually start my day when I get there, and I'm not automatically stressed by feeling like I'm running in the morning. Story 39. Ride a motorcycle. I thought they were terrifying. I was also afraid of the concept of driving a car, but kind of figured maybe I would overcome it someday. Come to find out, my physical disability affects my sense of space and makes maneuvering a car exceedingly difficult and scary to the point where it's probably dangerous. I also was just bored out of my mind driving, which made me distractible. I got a small, scooter-style motorcycle a few years ago, and it's genuinely so freeing not having to constantly rely on public transit. It's easy to maneuver, being not much wider than myself, and the feeling of the wind around me is enjoyable enough to keep me enthusiastic and not easily distracted. I can get most anywhere I need to be in the city in about 20 minutes. I can't do highways and generally need to get a ride to any sort of out-of-town event, but it's far more than I ever expected to be able to do when driving a car proved too difficult for me. It was a running joke in my family for years that I would probably grow up to be my reclusive great aunt who never learned to drive and had to be driven basically everywhere. I never learned why this was, as she and I weren't particularly close, but it always just felt mean-spirited to make fun of her for it, as I'm sure she had her reasons. Story 40. I always thought it was really gross as a child, but it turns out I was just buying really cheap, poorly activated slime. There are really pretty ones like Pilot Slimes, Original Slime, or Mush Bar. Story 41. I said to myself that I won't be drunk or use drugs ever. Here I am drinking 2 bottles of wine at least 3 times per week. I am addicted to something and I tried almost everything. I also said that I have a single life so I won't sleep it away. I plan to not sleep more than 4 hours per night, and now I sleep all the time. Today I slept 10 hours, for example, and I am a night owl. But I can't say that I regret it. Story 42. Swear. My mom always drilled into me how bad swearing is as a kid, and I vowed to never do so. Then I realized she swore, and I finally had the courage to start doing so once I turned 19. Story 43. File my nails. Even just last year, the idea of filing my nails gave me goosebumps and sent shivers down my spine. But recently I got a glass file and forced myself to do it. I was tired of how sharp my nails were after clipping and how they would catch on clothes. I now enjoy it. I like my nicely rounded, smooth nails. Story 44. When I was a kid, 13 years old, all I ever wanted was to be in a relationship with someone who would treat me like a princess. But ever since I've gone through puberty, the last thing I want is to be in a relationship, and I actually despise the thought, if this counts at all. Story 45. Be alone. Not by choice, but because everyone has someone, and the technology we use further distances us from one another. I hate it. I hate this life, and honestly, death, being removed from this lonely hell, will be a blessing. Story 46. When I was young, my parents struggled with addiction and alcohol abuse. As a result, they left my brother and me with my maternal grandparents, who raised us. I always believed that marijuana was the only substance they used, but it turns out they were involved in making methamphetamine. They would take us for visits and expose me to dangerous chemicals used in their methamphetamine production. Years later, I started using marijuana to help with my anxiety, but I didn't try it until I was 29. Story 47. Take naps, and I have seen comments under saying the same, but ugh. As a kid, I got diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, to which I was like, whatever. But my fellow humans, it is a nightmare. Moments when I can't focus on something, knowing I need to stay up, however, my mind refuses to work without proper sleep. But I have a deadline and can't afford to sleep and won't sleep because my head won't let me until important work is done, is madness. Not to mention, coffee makes me feel more relaxed and sleepy rather than awake and energetic.